Hi, everyone, and welcome to my Expansion Scapes podcast. I'm Olga Aydınoğlu. I'm a shamanic healing practitioner, a painter, a writer, and a YouTuber. So in this podcast, I'm going to share with you my travels, my journeying through my expansion scapes, as I like to call it. And I use the word expansion scapes to describe various kind of journeys. Sometimes it's non-physical psychic journeys through different realms, through meditation. And sometimes I like to call them thoughtscapes, and sometimes I like to call them emotionscapes, but everything is always mixed up, of course. And the point of traveling these is to expand, basically. Just like a regular human being, physical human being travels different countries, different lands, and visits different landscapes, seascapes, whatever they may go to. I like to go to the non-physical kind of landscapes and seascapes and whatever they're called, because they're not always landscapes and seascapes. They are kind of non-physical realms that are actually very, very pliable, especially if it's something that's your inner world. So it's something kind of fluid. And from my experience, when I visit other people's Akashic records or a bunch of things, I often see things as if like I'm entering someone's world or my world or whatever it is. And there's always like, not always, but often there's like an actual landscape, and every little detail about what I see in that world makes sense and speaks some kind of wisdom, some kind of truth, some kind of issue. So I feel like, just as a person who travels to other countries, other lands, visits various, let's call them also expansion scapes, you get wisdom, you get experiences, you get to grow, you get to learn. And just as with the physical landscapes, the non-physical landscapes within our own souls, I feel, and without, does pretty much the same thing, but we don't have to leave the room. Okay, so that's why I called my podcast Expansion Scapes. So in this podcast, I'll basically be sharing with you my experiences with my guides most of the time, like something that I encountered, a problem, an issue, and I always ask my guides to teach me, hey, what's up, what's going on? I meditate, I travel within, I travel without, and I get some kind of learning and teaching from my guides. And I thought, man, I want to share it with someone, so I'm going to share it here. And likewise, I really love to hear other people's experiences and what they learned, so that I can also apply what they learned to myself. And I do hope to inspire, I hope that it inspires someone out there, you perhaps, to kind of use your creativity and curiosity and experiment how perhaps some of these teachings that I get from my guides to help me with my daily issues, how perhaps you can also use it in your daily life to make it a little bit better. And my intention is to help whoever wants it to move away from a fear-based kind of experience of this life. So moving away from doing things because we're motivated by fear, and moving more towards living life and doing things because we're more motivated by love. And for this very first podcast episode, I decided to talk about something that my guides and I ended up calling joy management. And the reason we called it that is because they demonstrated to me how I was actually engaging something that we decided to call joy mismanagement. So I was really good at joy mismanagement. And so they taught me how to do something that we decided to call joy management. So it started with me doing one commissioned watercolor painting for one of my clients, which I call shamanic healing artwork. And it basically involves me connecting to the soul of the client and their spiritual team. And after some talking, some energy work, and a bunch of other stuff, I connect to an image. I get an image from them that would trigger or promote, that would speak to them on deep subconscious levels of their own soul world, and kind of like their own expansion scapes. And and that is meant to trigger or promote some kind of movement towards healing or towards whatever it is that they, an issue that they ask for. So I'm sitting there for multiple days and doing this for many, many hours. And then I noticed that I'm actually not feeling very good. I'm actually feeling pretty down on myself. And with every passing day, I noticed that I was feeling worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was just feeling really, really almost like depressed, really. I was feeling really heavy. And finally it got to that point where I'm like, okay, well, I need to do something about this. So I talked to my guides. I said, look, guys, like, I'm really not enjoying this. I need your help. Let's take a look at this. Let's fix it. And I asked for their input. I asked for their teaching. I asked for their guidance. And what they asked me was a question that made me feel almost immediately even worse. And the question was, how many times did you feel happy today? How many times did you feel happy today? And immediately I kind of spiraled down into more depression and into worse feelings of myself, because I was kind of assuming that, oh man, I didn't even feel good for, like, not today, not even yesterday. I can't imagine, how did I get to a point where I live my life and I don't even feel happy? And then my guides are like, okay, you've done enough of panicking, now calm down. And why don't you just actually, instead of going into this assumption that you didn't feel happy, instead of going into the spiraling doom and gloom based on this assumption that you made within a few seconds because you're afraid of what you might see, why don't you just chill out and actually tune into yourself and honestly check out how many times, if happiness actually occurred, and approximately how many times that happened. And then I took a chill pill, I relaxed, and when I actually tuned into myself, I saw that there were many, many, many times that I was happy while painting. And it just like was happening all the time, actually. Because when I paint, I'm always talking to the soul and the guides of my client and also to my guides. And there are many beings, benevolent beings, that come through and they kind of tell their stories and they show how they look like, and they kind of like almost pose for the picture. And while I'm painting them, we have beautiful conversations. So I always feel happy when I do get to talk to beautiful, benevolent beings who always say something, I mean, amazing and beautiful, and teach me different things. And also I felt really amazing when actually like the part that I was painting actually turned out well. So every time that happened, I was happy. And many, many more, even smaller instances, I realized that, yeah, you know what? I did feel happy throughout these days, like quite a lot, actually. I did. But the overall impression, somehow, some way, is that I've been feeling really horrible. So then my guides were saying, see, okay, you don't live a life where you have absolutely no happiness. You do get happy, and quite a lot. So let's check out what happens. What is it that you're doing that overall you think you are depressed or you think you're feeling really horrible? Let's check it out. So they spoke the language of watercolor painting with me, and they said, okay, let's say like one instance of feeling happy or feeling joy is a wet piece of blank paper. And let's say like a small blank paper that's wet, and you drop a yellow pigment on that wet paper. And what are you going to have? You're going to have pretty much yellow paper. And they said that if you don't do anything after you feel that joy, that's the experience you're going to have. You're going to feel, a yellow color. And this is symbolic, okay? It's like yellow stands for joy. In this example, doesn't always necessarily have to be so. So, yeah, they said if you just feel that happiness and you don't do anything about it, you'll have a pretty yellow piece of paper. That yellow pigment is going to go and spread quite far, and that's what you're going to feel for that moment or for that amount of time that we're talking about. But they said what you're doing is you drop that yellow pigment, but then immediately you also pick up a bunch of different muddy, kind of swampy colors. And you also drop a bunch of really, really kind of swampy colors next to it and all over it. So then eventually the colors get mixed and you get just kind of a dark, swampy colored paper, and it doesn't even look like there was ever any yellow in it because it all got mixed up, and the darker, swampy, muddy colors all covered up that yellow as if it didn't exist. But the truth is, the yellow color did exist. You just covered it up with all the other bunch of colors. So I was asking them, okay, well, what are these swampy colors? What am I doing? How am I covering up my happiness? And why in the world would I do that? And how do I stop? So they encouraged me to tune into those swampy colors, those swampy pigments, and find out what were those emotions. And I found out that, well, it wasn't really hard to find out, but it was a lot of guilt, shame, and blame of myself that I wasn't fast enough and I wasn't good enough. I wasn't adequate enough. I wasn't like an expert enough at painting that I could do it faster. And I was feeling regret and shame and kind of a lot of anxiety at the fact that I was missing out on doing other projects. And I always have at least, I don't know, maybe 7 projects going on at the same time. And as I was working on one of the projects, I was not doing the other ones. And the longer time I spent on doing one project, the worse I felt about neglecting and missing out on doing all of my other projects. And the other projects are things like writing my books, making YouTube videos. I wanted to start this podcast, and I have courses going on. I have a bunch of things that I also want to engage in. And I was being really hard on myself because I was doing this one thing and I was beating myself up over with it. And my guide said, look, do you actually enjoy this painting thing that you do? And they took me on a journey, how it was a very, very magical experience for me to actually learn from my guides that I could do this, and how I always wanted to paint since I was a kid, and I wasn't really given an opportunity to explore that. The way I grew up, I had to do a lot of serious things like math and things like that. And so it was a really magical thing for me to get back to my childhood passion of painting and actually do it as an adult without all of those judgments and negative attributions to painting. It took me a few years to develop this service for myself. First of all, even to learn how to paint, and also how to talk to souls and how to do this whole thing. And it took a lot of work and it took a lot of effort. And when I found out that I could do this, I felt really proud of myself. So my guide said, do you not want to do this anymore? Because if you don't want to do this anymore, you don't have to. You don't have to force yourself to do something you don't want to do anymore. And I tuned into it and I felt that, no, I love doing this. I am very grateful that I have the opportunity to do this kind of stuff. And they said that, okay, now imagine that instead of painting today, you're going to go and write another story in your book. So you're going to put that painting away and you're going to be writing your book. And I said, okay. And they said, imagine you're going to be doing that. Are you going to be feeling fantastically happy? And I said, no, I will be very angry at myself that I am not doing the painting for my client, and I'm not doing my podcast, and I'm not doing my course, and I'm not doing my YouTube videos, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that. So they said, look, then the problem is not the project itself. It's just like your attitude towards everything. It's your, as they call it, it's joy mismanagement. So another example to this is like, imagine you have a basket full of fruits and you love all of those fruits. And you bought them and you're really happy about them, and you sit down and you eat one fruit, like let's say an apple. And I'm eating that apple, but a little bit of joy comes in, a bit of that yellow pigment comes onto the wet white paper. And as I bite into the apple, I'm like, oh yeah, nice apple. And then as I look at the basket with other fruits like the pineapple and the mango and the grapes and the figs and everything else that's in there, I suddenly start to lose like taste, and I feel really bad because I'm not eating those fruits. I am missing out on all of those fruits because I'm eating this apple. So then they say, imagine you put the apple down and you pick up like another fruit, a mango, and you start eating the mango. You're not going to enjoy the mango either, because you'll always be looking at that big basket full of all the fruits that you have at your disposal, like you're going to eat them, but you're not allowing yourself to have joy doing something at the moment that you're doing, because you're always looking at what you don't have at this point, what you're missing out on. And another way they showed it to me was a cash flow statement, because I used to study finance and banking at my university. So they used kind of different languages to explain the same thing. And they said, imagine there is a spreadsheet and you get like, let's say 100 units of joy. Like this is your cash inflow. And what happens to your cash? Then you're gonna type minus, let's say 20, because I regret not doing all the other stuff. Okay. Then minus 20 because I think I'm not good enough at doing this. Then minus 20 units of joy because I think I should be much better at doing this. I should be a better expert. And like minus 20, minus 5, minus 3, however it is, they said all the emotions that come with like muddy colors, that muddy up that yellow, put them as minus amounts after the original cash inflow of joy, let's say, for that particular unit of time. And then they asked me to kind of digest and understand just how much I take away from myself, how much joy I take away from myself. And the reason they call it joy mismanagement is because of this, because I'm not doing the very simple thing of when I'm eating an apple, enjoy the apple, being in the now, being in the moment. When I'm eating the mango, eat the mango. When I'm painting my painting, Just enjoy this painting and allow yourself to understand that, yeah, you're not doing your other 9 projects, let's say, but make your peace with it. Make your peace with it and engage in this one thing and realize that worrying over not doing the other things at the same time won't make anything more efficient, and it certainly won't make you happier while doing any of those things. Then you might as well not do any of them. And then I also realized that that kind of behavior or that kind of attitude that I had to joy, to joy mismanagement, is that it really, really contributed to my procrastination. So there's like, let's say 10 projects I want to do, and throughout the day, somehow I don't do any of them. Why? Because I'm kind of spread all between them, like an octopus, but with 10 legs, let's say. And I just want to do all of them, but I can't, because I almost like know that when I'm gonna start doing one of the projects, I will be beating myself up that I'm not doing the other 9. So they help me understand the reason for my procrastination as well, and for being stuck, for feeling stuck, knowing that I actually want to engage in, let's say, 10 projects and never allowing myself to actually do any of them. Or like staring at a basket with 10 fruits and never picking up any fruit because I know that I will immediately regret not eating the other 9. Which, when I saw it and I understood it the way they showed it to me, almost immediately there wasn't like a magical solution or anything like that. It was just mostly awareness. That this is what you're doing. You think you have no happiness. You think you're suffering. But the truth is, as you tuned in and you saw it by yourself, you actually feel a lot of happiness, but you mismanaged that happiness. They said a better kind of management of your happiness, of your joy, is allocate that joy to each project. When I'm doing this, I'm being happy with this. When I'm doing that, I'm being happy with that. And let's not almost like deduct. It's like almost like I'm deducting future joy from another project from this one that I'm doing right now. And it's like, if this was actual cash flow, I think I'd go into debt immediately. Just in 1 second, I would just go into debt, because the amount of deducting from my joy, from my other, and the thing is, the swampy colored things weren't even something evil or bad. They were kind of like the joy that I missed out on doing the other 9 projects. So it's like, okay, let's say I get 100 units of joy, or like the swampy colors that I'm going to deduct from that wonderful feeling of joy are actually also joy units, but something that I'm expecting to receive from other projects. So I take the joy from another unit, from another project, and I turn it into suffering. And I don't allow myself to feel joy for this project because I have taken joy from another project that I know I'm going to feel. And I put it here and I turn it into suffering. Therefore, decreasing the amount of joy that I actually get to feel from any current project I'm ever working on. It's like some kind of emotional joy management math. So how can I make this weird emotional cash flow math better? Like, how can I fix it? How can I manage my joy so that I can feel more joy on a daily basis? And I guess I could go into like experiencing the now, the power of now, but somehow I feel like there's a lot of it already out there. And for me, it was just very simple. It was just being aware of it that really, really helped me to calm down and stop throwing myself into the doom and gloom of the situation. Because the doom and gloom of the situation came from not being aware of what I was doing. And yeah, I guess the first solution is just become aware. If you find yourself that, I haven't experienced joy much in my life recently, I wonder why. So I guess the step number one is awareness. You can ask your guides to help you become more aware of, hey guides, like, what am I doing here? Like, how am I mismanaging my joy? And I'll bet you do have joy. It's just that perhaps you're mismanaging it. And I'm not actually advising to follow what I'm doing or my thinking, but I am kind of hoping that you will use my experience and apply your own creativity and curiosity and, your own magical self, and kind of find your own magic of how you can resolve your situation, where you might find that, I think I could use more joy in my life. I could use I could do with more joy in my life. I'd like to feel more joy in my life. So two things that came up in my Expansion Scapes, kind of to help me understand this point and to kind of hit it home to myself, and I hope it speaks to you too. So the first image that came through to me to help me understand this was my inner sun and my inner moon. So the way I see it is that my inner moon is a dreamer. She dreams dreams. She dreams of all the fruits that she'd like to eat. She dreams of the basket. She dreams of all those fruits. She dreams of all the experiences that she'd like to experience. And she dreams of all the projects that she would like to engage herself with. And yeah, she's a dreamer. So all the dreams are kind of half fulfilled because they're not fulfilled. They're dreams. They're dreams, they're questions. They are dreamy what ifs. What if I do this? What if I do that? What if I do something else? And she's really good at dreaming stuff. Now my inner sun comes in and shines the light of manifestation, the light of reality, and what is reality? Our inner world is just as real as this physical world, okay? Maybe I shouldn't use that word. But the inner sun shines the light on the moon's dreams and kind of manifests them. And the issue here is allowing my inner moon to allow my inner sun to actually shine, because the sun won't shine the light on all the dreams at all to be manifested at the same time. Why? Because we live in this physical reality and we have time as one of the ingredients in our experiences. So perhaps in the non-physical, that is possible to experience 10 dreams at the same time, because we're not limited by the physical, by the physicalness and the time that we have here in the physical form. So what my inner moon kind of needs to do is, when the sun shines on one of her desires, of one of her dreams, and brings that into existence, the moon, my inner moon, kind of needs to allow herself not to dream about all the other dreams that are not manifested right now, but to learn how to actually enjoy fully this one thing and let go of all other stuff. And it's kind of like killing all your other dreams for the sake of one. But you're only doing it temporarily, because tomorrow is another day. And tomorrow you might be eating a different fruit. Tomorrow you might be eating a mango. Today you're eating an apple. Tomorrow you might be eating a mango. And you wouldn't be able to experience joy from either if you were always thinking about something else. So that's like one of my inner images or my inner landscapes of how I understand myself and the world. I guess like my inner expansion scape, that I can share, that somehow when I see this image and I feel it, things settle in my mind and things settle in my heart. And somehow I'm okay to experience this one thing right now. Because I'm also feeling the like a kind of frustration from my inner son, like, hey, you wanted this, or like I have a husband, so I'm just like imagining, like, if I tell him I want this, so he'll be like, okay, here's that. Today we're going on this trip you wanted. And then I'll be sad on the way all the time. Why? Because I didn't get the other 5 things. But you can't get the other 5 things because literally we can't do them all at the same time. Like, whatever, maybe I want to go to the zoo too. And like, no, but we're going to the beach today. But I'm sad that we're not going to the zoo. Like, it's really like, and then I would feel the frustration of like my inner son, or like my husband would be frustrated. Like, I can't like give you everything at the same time. You have to choose, and it's your choice if you actually want to experience joy from any of those. Okay, so another kind of image or symbol rather that really helped me to understand this point before. I think it was maybe a year ago that I connected to a bunch of runes, Elder Futhark runes, on my YouTube channel with my friends. And what we did, we connected psychically to each rune, and then we got together and we shared our experiences. So for this particular joy mismanagement thing, if whoever is interested in runes, for me, it really, really helped me understand this concept of choosing one thing at one particular time. And that rune is called Urus. And I'm looking at the definition that I wrote for myself after I connected to Urus. Let me read it. So there's a bunch of definitions, or actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's called Expansion Scapes. You can find the video, Urus, the Elder Futhark rune Urus, our experiences of it. You can see the whole experience, which was very, very long. But for now, let me share my memory of Urus where, okay, I'm just going to read it. One of the definitions I wrote was this: a free conscious choice to be limited in some way in order to go through a journey, fully engaged in it, temporarily blind to all else, such as incarnating in a particular body, time, location, society, culture, belief system, or, for example, choosing a career or project, foregoing all other options consciously and freely. Also, sticking to a choice and not giving up, no matter how much effort, energy, strength, and determination it takes. So one of the visions that Urus gave me at that time that really kind of sticks out for this experience, for joy management, is I was shown a boy who grew up in a village. And it was like a very, very closed society, and they had their beliefs and they had their way of how they grew up. It was a kind of a very close-knit village where most people were kind of, I don't know, almost family, because it was so small. He was born in that village, and he learned everything from his parents and from the village people. And he lived really, really, really believing in all of that was taught to him through that life experience. And I saw a vision of foreigners coming in or something like that. They weren't even that far away foreigners. They were like another village that was actually quite similar, but They were slightly different, and they were having a fight with each other. And because the boy was raised in this village and believed only these things, that from that village, he never went anywhere else. He was passionately fighting the other guys. And what I was feeling there was that it's not that it's... right now with my Olga brain, I'm thinking, oh man, like it would really serve him to go traveling and see different, perspectives and learn, go traveling, Expansion Scapes. But not with my Olga brain, with my inner kind of self. And what Urus actually taught me was that there's a reason we choose to incarnate in a particular society, in a particular time, in a particular time space. And that experience allows us to live a very, very specific experience that we seek. So for the time of an incarnation, we make a very, very specific choice. We choose that, I'm going to be born as this person. Like for me, I'm going to be born as Olga, and that's that. I can't experience myself as 10 other different people. And ironically, maybe perhaps the other 10 different people were also my incarnations at other times, if there is time. What my guides actually also pointed out to me, and what I feel here, is that if one were to meditate on the rune Urus and ask for its wisdom and ask for its whatever it is that Urus can teach and to show, I feel that Urus would be like a really good rune to work with, to help with joy management, to help with making a choice. Because in this case, my guides taught me that at least my issue with joy management was engaging in a choice, making a choice for a specific amount of time and being okay with it and letting everything else go for now, just as if I were incarnated as one person and I let everything else go. So I feel like if you work with runes, perhaps asking for a blessing from the rune Urus would be a wonderful thing to do to help live with one choice, at least in the now. And that perhaps in a weird way, or I don't know, in an unexpected way, would actually increase the amount of joy that you can feel from an activity per time, per unit of time, per unit of space, per unit of choice, I guess. So that's some joy math for you. I wish that you become a really great joy mathematician and manage your joy cash flow as well as you can. I know that I'm very grateful to my guides for teaching me that. And I know that this is not like a miracle solution for all problems, and from now on, let's all experience joy all of the time, like a miracle. But I hope that it inspires perhaps some ideas of how to help you feel more joy, even a little bit more joy, every single day. And to me, experiencing those little teachings of how my guides taught me how to experience a little bit more joy, like that specific day and from then on forward, to me, it feels like it does feel like a small miracle. And working like that with my guides really does feel wonderful. And I feel a lot of kind of pre-taste of joy for sharing more things like that with you. So if you like hearing about these kinds of experiences, how to interact with your guides, how to get teachings from them, how to get advice from them, how to get guidance from them and apply it to your life, I am looking forward to seeing you here on my Expansion Scapes podcast, and I'm wishing you all some wicked expansion scapes. Thank you, and bye-bye.